Richard's achievements are the ones that either came easy or could be bought with money, Charles replies with disdain. The change on his face is perceptible, making the moment when his thoughts turn to his younger son clear. As far as Gideon is concerned, I think it's obvious what happened. I tilt my head to the side, feigning ignorance. Oh? Charles locks his eyes on mine with such intensity that makes it impossible for me to look away. From the moment the love of his life left him, he decided to stop losing things to his brother. My lungs fill with air that I'm unable to let out. It's been 10 years since I picked Richard over Gideon, and not a moment has gone by that I haven't regretted it. I was naive and inexperienced, 19 years old, and Richard lured me into his clutches with promises of a future that I thought Gideon could never give me. Not when he was barely getting through college and spending the nights passed out in a puddle of his own vomit. If you're still trying to convince me to come to your house for Christmas, you're doing it wrong, I say, with a quiet voice, ashamed of myself for the way I hurt Gideon. We've all done things we're not proud of, Charles says, and shrugs nonchalantly. Life isn't perfect. People aren't perfect. And thank God for that, because perfect is boring. Flaws and imperfections are what makes life worth living. As long as we're willing to learn from our mistakes, we deserve a second chance. Don't you think so? If you want me to get back together with Richard, then I'm afraid to disappoint you, because that's a hard no from me, I say, my eyebrows up in my forehead. Charles shakes his head and lets out a low chuckle. I wouldn't leave my dog alone with Richard, much less someone so dear and close to my heart as you are. My lips curl up into a small smile, touched by his words. Then tell me the truth, I say. Why do you want me there? Charles scratches his groomed beard that covers half of his face, his gray brows furrowing in thought, giving my question serious consideration. Part of, I'd like to have you there as support, he says, sounding authentic and sincere. Christmas is a hard time for me, and you're not only like a daughter to me, but also my therapist. If I ever have a breakdown, it would surely be when surrounded by my extended family. Don't you think so? So you'd like me there in a professional capacity, I ask, wanting to make things clear that would also establish certain boundaries. If I say yes, will you come? Charles asks, his eyes locked on mine from underneath his bushy eyebrows. I don't want to, I say, then pause. He takes the opportunity to fill in the silence. But you have to, because your business isn't doing too well and you can't afford to lose me as a client. I struggle to keep a neutral expression on my face, but he knows he's right. After the divorce, Richard exacted revenge by attacking my reputation, resulting in me losing clients and nearly going bankrupt. Most of the time, it's thanks to Charles that I'm still able to open the doors. Or maybe it's the fact that your own parents don't want anything to do with you, Charles says, but his voice isn't malicious. He gives me a sad look, carrying a part of the guilt on his shoulders even though it's not his duty. My parents made their own choice when they picked Richard over me. They didn't care that he was caught fucking the weather girl on live TV, but found a reason to blame me instead. You should have quit working and stay at home, they told me. If you'd been a stay-at-home wife, maybe Richard wouldn't go around looking for someone else to give him what you weren't able to. It's entirely your fault that a good man like him had to take care of his needs somewhere else. That charming bastard had them hooked around his little finger from the start. They hated Gideon, but they loved Richard. As far as I know, they still do. I really don't think it's a good idea, I repeat, although the excuse sounds weak to my own ears. No one says no to Charles Altair. Okay then, how about this, Charles says, his eyes faded with age, blue eyes sparkling with a hint of excitement. This Christmas isn't just the first anniversary of Linda's death, but it'll also be a day when I'll make a big announcement that concerns you too. I sincerely advise you to come.